welcome back to the Cheap channel, the channel dedicated to all things cheap in the world of fragrances. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at some blue fragrances. Everybody out there loves blue fragrances, or at least most of people do. They want something that's very easy to wear, almost year-round usability, and you can go to any situation, any occasion, not have to worry about thinking ahead of time what you're going to wear. You can just literally spray it on and go. That is exactly what the blue fragrance is meant to do, is to cater to literally everything and be a blind reach. And that's exactly what these 5 that I have picked out are. And not only are they very versatile and they smell great, but they're also very cheap as well, and you don't have to worry about spending a lot of money to smell way higher quality than what these actually cost. Starting off with the first one here, and this is kind of the one that has been a poster child for cheap blue fragrances for a little while, especially those who are in the know and know this house know that this is kind of the staple of things that people go and buy for the first time when they're looking at this company, and it's from the house of Rochas. And the one I'm talking about is this one called Rochas L'Homme. Some people even say L'Homme Rochas. I know that this is a big favorite of Dustin from the Fragrance Fan channel. He loves this one. It's like literally one of his signatures besides a few others that he really enjoys. And also Ross from TLTG Reviews also have recommended this one a lot, and a lot of other ones like, you know, Dallas from Chaos Fragrances and Ash from Jensen's as well. This is one that used to get a lot of hype way back in the day, but a lot of people really don't know about it. You know, the clones and all of that kind of take over, but this used to be the go-to if you want a good and expensive blue style fragrance, or at least something that is great for year-round wearability. What you're gonna get with this is something that starts off on the top very citric, very almost tart, a little fruity as well. You get hit with a note of blood orange, which adds a good bit of a more bitter, richer type of orange, and then a little bit of pineapple, adding up that fruitiness. And then as it goes through, get a lot of aromatics, things like basil in here as well, adding in a slight greenness, but not really piercingly green. It's more just aromatic and a little bit of that fuzzy kind of style greenness. And as it goes through, you get a little bit of almost an aquatic, airy, like ozonic kind of factor to it without it being, you know, too much of a mineral, like, you know, sea salty kind of thing. And it's not really oceanic. It's just a little bit of a freshness in there, like a light muskiness. And then you get a good bit of a woody base to it, a lot of musk, and of course, a good bit of those aromatics along with that. And seasonality with this, as well as the rest of these here, it really can wear it all year round. So I'm not going to go through seasonality a whole lot with every one of them, because you kind of expect it to be something you can wear for all occasions, you know, hot or cold. And this is definitely one of those. It may work a little better for the warmer weather because of that bright citrus, but as it dries down, it does get more into those, like I said, woody aromatics. And there's also a flanker from this called L'Homme Aromatic Touch, and that one does lean more toward the colder seasons, you know, especially spring and fall, but it also has a little bit of wearability, but it's not as bright and citric as this one. That's a lot more woody and not really as versatile as this one. And this is one that also smells very classy. Of course, Rochas L'Homme, you look at the bottle, you expect it to have the little bit of air of maturity about it, and it definitely does. So it may not appeal a lot to younger guys, but for those who are more professional fields and office wear, going about formalities and things like that, and you're like, you know, 25 years or up, or middle age and up, you will definitely appreciate how this smells. It has that, you know, very grown up, like I said, sophisticated kind of thing to it. But if you are a younger guy who wants something that kind of transitions, goes a little more toward that grown-up, sophisticated style, this is a great one to start with. Like I said, it's not too youthful, but not too mature, but it does tend to go toward that latter part. And as far as performance, I don't get the best out of it personally, but I've heard from a lot of different people that they get really good performance. So maybe it's just me personal, but I would say it's like probably right below average. It's definitely not going to be something that's too loud projecting or too long lasting, but depending on what you're doing, it may last as long as you need it to. And if not, like I've said before, it's so inexpensive and cheap, you can just spray it up and just refresh with it every time you need to, because it is, again, that inexpensive. You're not losing a lot of money. But I think it's a perfect start to this list. Again, one that's been hyped for a long time. I think it's kind of got, you know, left to the wayside, but I want to bring it back and bring people's attention to it because it is really, really good, solid, high quality, and from a great house that guarantees you're going to get a good bang for your buck. Again, this one here from Rochas, and it is Rochas L'Homme. The next one here is one I've talked about a good bit on the channel, at least I used to way back in the day. Nowadays, I don't seem to mention it as much, but it doesn't mean it's any less of a fragrance than what it was when I talked about it. It's actually one that is very underrated. No one thinks about it, even from the house itself. It's not one that's pushed a whole lot, but that also means it'll give you more of a unique wear, and one that's also gonna be very inexpensive. It is from the house of Varvatos, and it is this one called XX Indigo. So this is actually the first full-size John Varvatos bottle I've ever owned, and I bought it based off a sample that I wore when I first really started getting serious in my fragrance journey, and I fell in love with it. I had to go find it online. One of the first buys I actually had from FragranceNet, found it for a really good price, and even now it's way cheaper than it was when I first got this. Like, you can probably find this in like the mid-20s to 30s, and for that price you're getting something that is very solid and kind of surprisingly unique for what this scent profile is coming across and how it twists the usual expectations of a blue fragrance. What you're gonna get with this is something that starts off on the top actually very aromatic, fresh, and slightly sweet. Has a very noticeable mint note on the top, a good bit of pink pepper, has a little bit of a spicy bite to it, and a lot of airy sweetness. And as it goes to that mid, you get a little bit of a floral note. I think there's also like Himalayan poppy in here, which is a very unique scent. I'm not really sure what that smells like, but it does have a very nice, light, clean floral nature to it, along with those aromatics and that mint still going into that dry down, into that mid. And in that base, you get something that is a clean, musky, very soft woodiness, and it still keeps a lot of those aromatics from the mid into that base. And through it has a little bit of like almost an ambroxan, ambery marine kind of freshness to it, which really all of these do. I think it kind of plays into what a blue style fragrance has. The part of that profile is it has to have something that is a little fresh and maybe a little aquatic marine, but not going too far into that. And it definitely has some of that in there, and very slight warmth in that dry down as well. It's a very classy scent, but it has a different kind of class from like Rochas L'Homme here. I've always said this, to me smells like something you'd wear at a white picket fence tea party, like you're in seersucker and you're sitting down having like little, you know, sweet cakes and biscuits and things like that. It has a very, like I said, sophisticated but light style to it, perfect for spring and summertime, but I think even fall and winter to spray up a little heavier, it definitely works great for those as well. And as far as performance, I actually get fairly good performance out of it. I know John Varvatos gets a lot of flack for having very dull performance both in projection and longevity, despite how good quality the profile is. But as far as this one, I actually don't get as bad performance as I usually do from other releases from the house. It's right at the average mark, both in longevity and in projection. Not something that's gonna be too loud unless you want to spray a lot on, but one that I think has a, like I said, very good reservation to it. It is classy and sophisticated. It's not trying to be overbearing or overwhelming. It knows that it smells good and it wants you to discover how good it really is. So I think that the performance matches perfectly to the scent profile. If it was any louder, I think it'd be intolerable, but because of what it is, I think it's a great balance between the nice minty, fresh, spicy floral nature and the aromatics and that very mild performance to it without being, you know, too underwhelming, at least in my opinion. I think it's fantastic. I think it really is super underrated. And this is one of those in my collection that as soon as I run out of this bottle, I'm gonna make sure to replenish it with an even larger bottle because I really do love this scent profile. One that I'm definitely gonna be wearing here soon. Now it's starting to get into the warmer side of spring and starting to get into summer. And I really do recommend this if you do see it out and about for a good price, because I have seen this even at rack stores and way even cheaper online as well. I definitely recommend it if you want a nice daily wear kind of sophisticated, classy scent that is more unique than most of the other blue fragrances you'll see out there. Again, this one from a very unexpected house, but one that you really need to check out from John Varvatos. It is XX Indigo. The next one here is kind of the only clone fragrance that we have in here, but it's not really also a clone because it's kind of a mixture of a lot of different profiles. It's not really going straight for one or the other. It's kind of trying to be its own thing with inspiration from a lot of other popular scents out there. It is from the company of Afnan, and it is this one, 9 AM Dive. So this has actually quickly become one of my absolute favorite cheapies in my collection. Besides just the designer stuff and the other blue fragrances, this is by itself one that I really attract to and I gravitate to. And apparently I'm not alone in it, because I've seen a lot of people online always recommend this, and a lot of cheaper end like Middle Eastern fragrances, they always point at this or try to have it presented in their video, and it's for a really good reason, because really not only is this one that is a, you know, summertime, springtime warm weather wear, but one that is really in that blue style, mixing in a lot of things that you get from like YSLY, Bleu de Chanel, Dior Sauvage, even things like Creed's Aventus. It has a lot of those mixed in with a little bit more emphasis on certain notes and aspects that those other fragrances don't really put a lot of attention to. This is one that to me personally comes across very, very citric, fruity on the top. You get all kind of fruits like apple, pineapple, you get a good bit of mint in here as well. Not as minty noticeable as like John Varvatos XX Indigo, but it does still have that good bit of green aromatic nature, and then as it dries down, you get a lot more of that greenness, not just aromatics and herbs, but just almost a fresh, light spring style of greenness, not really grassy, but it almost reaches that point to me. And then you get a good bit of actually more aquatic, marine, almost sea salty style notes in there, more so than what anything else in here has. And it has a good bit of a musky, like denseness to it, while also staying very light and fresh. And as it dries down, you get a lot more woodiness, and that base is dominated by woods. I'd say it's almost really half the profile. You get a lot of the lighter, fruity, sweet, musky, herby notes in the top, but as it dries down, the woods are the star of the show. And because of that heavy base of woodiness, this makes it lean very masculine and have that kind of overall like cologne style that most people associate with men's fragrances. It is very grounded. It smells fantastic. It's a great blend. And as this has sat on my shelf for well over a year now, it has matured to something that is way better than when it started with, and performance has gotten way better with it as well. This used to not last all that long on me and project all that well, but now I can wear it and easily get right at average longevity with a medium performance overall. And because of those similarities to things like Bleu de Chanel, YSL, and Creative Ventus, it actually has a fair bit of class to it as well, which is something I didn't intend with all these blues that I have in here, that all of them have a little bit of an air of sophistication to them and maturity. But don't misunderstand that this is only for, you know, more mature, older guys. Younger guys absolutely love this. Almost everyone that smells this, every one of my friends, younger guys who come in here and see this, they always gravitate to this and take a picture and go to buy it later, which tells you that this is definitely a compliment getter and attractive. It's alluring, has a little bit of sexiness to it as well while being fresh. It's not something that's too sweet, even though there is a little bit of sweetness in there, a little bit of that airiness that you usually get in designer stuff. But overall, it really just works. Everything that you need it to do, everything you want it to do, it's going to do that for you. It's going to pull compliments, stay fresh and light, and also be something that's easily wearable for most of the year round. And on top of all that, it is not expensive at all. You can find this online for like 20 something dollars. And I even found this at a rack store, which was actually TJ Maxx, for the first time when I saw it out and about. And it was like $24 or $25, which is a great buy for something like this. But like I said, absolutely love this. And again, this is a scent profile that I am really attracted to. It's become one of my favorites in my collection. And anytime I want a good, quick blind buy reach, I just don't know what else to put on, but I know I want to smell good, attractive, compliment getting, and just easily works for anything, I'll always be magnetized and grab this one here. Again, one that you need to check out if you haven't already is by Afnan, is 9 AM Dive. The next one here is one that is actually a recent addition to my collection, and it's one I haven't given a whole lot of wears, don't have a lot of experience with it, but what I do have is all positive, and it actually made me want to get this list together and talk about it so that I could present it in a video for the first time. It is one that I've seen a lot of people talk about online, more particularly Justin Copeland and Ross from TLTG Reviews. They've really hyped this one up and talked about it a fair bit in most other videos, especially when it comes to the cheaper blues that you need to check out. Is this one by Boucheron, and it is Boucheron Singulier. This is one that is going to have a lot of similarities to most blue fragrances out there, especially the cheaper blue fragrances and those who are trying to emulate a lot of the other more expensive things, kind of like a culmination and a combination of a lot of other scent profiles out there. But because it is from the company of Boucheron, it has a good bit of a mature, classy twist to what you'd expect to be something that's more youthful and more lively. What you're going to get out of this fragrance is something that starts off the top a little bit citric, slight sweet, fruity, but not as sweet as some of these other ones in here, especially Afnan 9 AM Dive. And it quickly gets into a little bit of an aromatic kind of touch in there, very, very light florals, but mostly you're gonna get those aromatics and a big hit of lavender, which adds in that good masculine twist to it and connects it from being something that's just blue, fresh, almost aquatic, to something that is having a little bit of a throwback feel with that heavy dose of lavender. And as it dries down, you get a good bit of woodiness, things like vetiver, and I even think there's cedar and patchouli in here as well. So a little bit darker, actually. It's a good bit deeper than this, and I actually would describe this as a scent profile that is actually very similar to Rochas L'Homme, but unlike Rochas L'Homme, it doesn't have that huge citric burst on the top of that blood orange note like L'Homme does, but this is almost like you take L'Homme and dial it down and actually make it a good bit deeper. The dry down on this has a good bit of like a good masculine, classy dip to it. It seems like it just keeps on going on and on. A little bit of a ambery warmth to it without being something that's overly sweet or more for like the fall and cold weather, but you definitely can tell it has good depth and quality to it. A very, very hefty and strong base of those woody raw materials. And it's when I say that besides one other one in here, that probably the most cold weather appropriate out of all these here, while also being just as flexible in the summertime, but it doesn't have too much of a lighter top note in that makes it more appropriate for summer, that you can't use it for anything else. This definitely has more leaning into where you can wear it for easily any occasion, especially at night in the spring and summer and most of the cold weather in fall and winter. And performance on this is actually really solid because of that heavier, woodier base to it. Longevity on this is definitely average, if not maybe a little above that, but projection may not be as much as that, probably medium, if not like slightly less than that, depending on how much you spray on and of course what you're doing throughout the day. But the dry down on this is fantastic. The skin scent on this and the feel is really solid. Absolutely love it. Again, if you are a guy who was like, you know what, I think no. Again, if you're a guy who thinks that most blue fragrances are a little too youthful, or some things are too sweet, or some things are too airy and light, you want something that has a little more depth and heft to it, I would definitely go to this one here. It's not too heavy where you can't wear it in the warm weather, but it definitely has more of a hold and more, like I said, richness to it than most of the other ones in this list. And overall, it also still has a little bit of that blue, aquatic, marine kind of thing to it without being too light and airy like some of the other ones here. But one that I definitely recommend if you want a easy wear that's classy, sophisticated, grown up, well put together, well groomed, and just has a great aura about it, it'd be this one here by Boucheron, and it's Boucheron Singulier. Now on to the last one here, and it's one that is going to make Ross from TLTG Reviews very proud to talk about. It's definitely one that people consider probably the king of cheap blue fragrances, that when you talk about a inexpensive but high quality blue style fragrance, most people are going to mention this one first, probably above almost everything else in this list, which is why I put it last. It is by none other than the company of Salvatore Ferragamo, and it is this one, Acqua Essentiale Blue. This is one that's definitely going to have those reminiscences to things like Bleu de Chanel, even Versace Dylan Blue, and maybe some things like YSLY and some other fragrances as well. And I have talked about this fragrance a lot before, and so has almost everyone out there in the fragrance community, so I'm not going to give a whole lot of attention. I'm just going to quickly go through it and briefly tell you what to think about it and how I experience it, and let you decide whether you want to pick it up or not. But what you're going to get out of this fragrance is something that immediately starts off on the top, very fresh but also slightly sweet, powdery. It has a good bit of tonka bean in here, but a lot of fresh, fruity, citric aspects on the top without being almost overly noticeable citrusy, definitely less so than things like Rochas L'Homme and Afnan 9 AM Dive. And as it dries down, you get a little bit more of an aromatic nature in here, more of that powdery kind of aspect to it, and then a good bit more of musks, and you do have that marine, oceanic, almost ozonic kind of quality in here, but it's not as noticeable as some of the other ones in here, and it actually has a different kind of quality to it, and you have a little bit of a soft woodiness and actually a little bit of a leather note in here as well, again adding a little more of a darker aspect. And you also get a lot of ambers and ambroxan here through and through, and actually the ambroxan comes out earlier on in the fragrance, like going from that top to mid, it definitely comes out more. It has a good bit more warmth in this, actually more so than all the other ones in this list, making it one that not a lot of people may think of wearing in the high heat of summer, but I definitely think in summer nighttime where it's cooler or you're in air conditioned settings, you could definitely pull it off. But other than that, the rest of the year from spring, day or night, fall and winter, just maybe spray it up a little more in the colder seasons, it definitely will work. Again, more sweet, powdery, dense, again, a darker dry down than most of the other ones here, probably aside from Boucheron Singulier. It has all of that in it, but also being very versatile. Again, that sweetness appeals to the younger guys, the more heavier aspects for those who want something that's a little more mature feeling, but it definitely has a versatility for any occasion. It can be classy if you want it to be, formal, great for office wear, great for casual, out and about, day or night, whatever you're doing. Just like the blue kind of style and purpose of it is, it has all of that in it. It serves all those purposes. It's fantastic at doing it. Great quality as well, and a really good price. I think you could probably find this actually cheaper at rack stores, things like TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls, and Burlington, than you would be able to find online, except maybe some places online have it for cheaper than what I've seen before, but I think that rack stores probably have the better deal because I happen to get this bottle here for like a little around $20, maybe a tad under that actually. So great quality, great deal. I think this is a staple, not just in the blue fragrance sphere, but also just in great quality, cheap fragrances, just a cheap fragrance community and Hall of Fame basically in general. I think this definitely earned its place there. And I know that this is a flanker and it has a lot of other ones aside from this, but I do think that the Acqua Singulier blue flanker is the one to own, especially if you want the most versatile, best compliment getting, most wearable, and really most attractive and quality one out of the bunch. This is definitely the one to go with. In case you've heard about it all through your fragrance journey, just never reached out and got it, I highly recommend and suggest for you to reach out and try this one because it's hyped up for a reason. Because it really is hyped up for a really good reason. Again, this one here by Salvatore Ferragamo, and it is Acqua Singulier Blue. And there you go, guys, my 5 picks for cheap and inexpensive blue fragrances that you need to check out if you're wanting anything in that genre of that blue kind of versatility, wearability, and also attractive nature, with also not compromising quality in any way. All of these are very inexpensive, but they all smell absolutely incredible. And if you own or have owned any of these here and you have any kind of thoughts about them, whether positive or negative, or maybe you're looking at getting them and have any questions about them, or if you have any other blue fragrance suggestions of your own that you think I need to check out, please let me know all those things down in the comments below, and I'll try my best to read it and maybe comment back to you. I try to get that community flow going. If you're watching this video and you like what you've seen here, if maybe I provided any kind of information or entertainment value, anything that will help you out in your fragrance journey, please consider giving the video a like and a thumbs up. Let me know to keep making these more specific catered fragrance videos for certain occasions or a certain kind of style of fragrances. And if you want to see any more of that content, again, give a like and let me know to keep making this type of stuff. And if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed to the channel, but you do like what you've seen here or what you've seen elsewhere on the channel, I encourage you to please consider supporting this channel by hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can see all of the things that I'm working on in the background to bring out to you guys, for all of you to watch and enjoy. I'd love for you to be right along with me on this cheap and inexpensive fragrance journey, and hey, maybe I can even help you discover something new along the way. And as always, guys, that's all I have for today's video. Again, thank you for being here and for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. And I will see all of you again in the next video. Be blessed.